This video will explain how to find the equation of a line using the slope-intercept form of the line. First, let's review what the slope-intercept form of a linear equation is. It looks like y equals mx plus b. And what that means is that your equation, first of all, is solved for y. That means it's all by itself on one side of the equal sign. And there are two numbers in the equation. One is the coefficient of x, and the other is a constant term, meaning there's no variable in it. So your equations might look something like y equals 3x minus 5, in which case this number is the slope, and negative 5 is the y-intercept. It could be given in a different order. It could be given as something like 3 minus 1/2 x, and you need to be careful about that in that if your x is the second term, this is still the slope because it's the one that's the coefficient of x, and then this one that doesn't have the variable in it is your y-intercept. So let's take a look at a couple of examples. We're going to start with a couple of graphs, and we're going to see if we can look at the graph and, knowing what we know about the slope-intercept form, come up with the equation of the line. So here are our two graphs. There's a black line and a blue line here, and I'm going to start with the black line. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at that black line and I'm going to see if I can figure out enough points on this black line to see if I can come up with the slope. What I'm trying to do is find a couple of points that are on nice, clean, integer coordinates. So if I want to use the slope-intercept form of a line, that's y equals mx plus b. There's two numbers I have to figure out. First, I have to figure out what the slope is. Next, I have to figure out what the y-intercept is. Well, looking at this graph, if I choose this point and this point right here, I can see that the slope, which is rise over run, looks like this is going up 3 and over 1. So it looks like my slope is 3 over 1, or 3. So that number is going to go right here next to the x. And then the y-intercept right here, this looks like that's the point 0, negative 1. So my y-intercept is my b value, so that's what's going to go in this box. So the equation for this black line is y equals 3x minus 1. So to find the equation of this blue line, the first thing I'm going to do is try to pull off a couple of clean points. This is the point 0, 3. This one down here looks like the point 4, 2. I just need a couple of points there. So again, my equation looks like y equals mx plus b, and what I'm trying to do is figure out what number do I put in the box for m and what number do I put in the box for b. I can see right now that my y-intercept right here is 3, so that's the b value. If I want to figure out what the slope is, I'm going to look at the rise over the run here. So from this point here, it looks like I have to go down 1, and it looks like I have to go over 4. So this looks like a slope of negative 1/4. So my equation for this blue line would be negative 1/4 x plus 3. Okay, let's take a look at a couple other questions. This one, you're not given a graph. Find the equation of the line passing through negative 2, negative 3, and 0, 3. Well, even though I'm not given a graph, I'm a very visual person, so I have to draw a picture of it anyway. So negative 2, negative 3 is going to be down here in quadrant 3 somewhere. And then I have the point 0, 3. And when you draw it, it's nice because when you plot the point 0, 3, when it's stated in this original form here, you might not notice that that's the y-intercept, but this is in fact the y-intercept. Even if you didn't have a graph, you would know that's the y-intercept because the x value is 0. So I know the y-intercept is 3, and the only other thing I need is the slope. If you want to do rise over run from your graph, you can. If you want to use the slope formula, you can. That's going to be 6 divided by 2, or 3. So my slope is 3 and my y-intercept is 3. So my equation, again, the slope goes next to x, the y-intercept is by itself as a constant term. So I get 3x plus 3. Okay. Second one here passes through 0, 0, and 6, negative 1. 0, 0, that's right there on the origin. And 6, negative 1, that's down here in quadrant 4. So if I draw this line in here, that looks like it's got a negative slope. So let's see if we can come up with what the slope is. If I do negative 1 minus 0 over 6 minus 0, that's negative 1/6. And you can see that if you do rise over run, you go down 1 and over 6. So the slope is negative 1/6. My y-intercept is 0. So when I write y equals mx plus b, I get y equals negative 1/6 x plus 0. And when you add 0, it doesn't really do anything to your equation, so I simplify it to be negative 1/6 x. And the last question here, find the equation of the line passing through 5, negative 2 and 2, negative 6. Now this one doesn't appear to give me a y-intercept because neither of those x coordinates are 0. So I'm just going to roughly sketch this. 5, negative 2 and 2, negative 6 would be down here somewhere. So I've got a line going something like this, and I'm intentionally drawing it a very rough sketch here. So neither of these points are the y-intercept. So when I start out with this y equals mx plus b, I need to find the slope and I need to find the y-intercept. And in the other examples I was told what the y-intercept is, and this one I'm not. So I'll have to do some work to get that. This first one, if we want to find the slope, you can do rise over run. You can use the slope formula. If I use the slope formula, negative 6 minus negative 2 over 2 minus 5, I'm going to get negative 4 over negative 3, which is positive 4/3. The fact that the slope turned out positive, I quickly over here glance at this. The line's going uphill from left to right, so that looks okay. So I know that I can at least put that 4/3 in there. But, like I said earlier, I don't have a number to put in for b, and I certainly don't trust my graph over here on the left to be able to give me anything accurate. So here's how you find b if you don't know what it is. You take one of these points, and it doesn't matter which one. So I'll just take this one right here, and I put it in for the x and the y. So the y value for this particular point up here is negative 2. The 4/3 is there. The x value for that same point is 5 plus b. And then I should be able to solve that for b. This is negative 2 equals, if I multiply these, that's 20 over 3 plus b. And so b is negative 2 minus 20/3. And you might have to do a little bit of work there with common denominators. Negative 2 is negative 6/3. So negative 6/3 minus 20/3 is negative 26/3. So that's the y-intercept. That means that if I actually continued this graph down here, this point would be 0, negative 26/3, which is between negative 26/3 is negative 8 2/3. So it's almost negative 9, but not quite. So my final equation here would be y equals, my slope was 4/3. That goes next to the x, and then the y-intercept is the constant term. So that one got a little messy, but I intentionally gave you one that involved having to find b as well as having to work with fractions.